Hello! So, kind of surprisingly, quite a few people enjoyed the Little Pig's hat story. So, on Friday, I wrote a sequel to that story and I'm going to tell it to you today. Just before I start, I wanted you to know that I am currently in my childhood bedroom. When the lockdown started, I moved back with my mum to look after her and make sure she has everything she needs. I think I wanted you to know that just so I could say that I didn't personally choose these curtains here, as lovely as they are. Well, in fact, I probably did choose these curtains, but I was probably about 8 when I did that. I'd also like to say thank you to my sister Kerry and her husband Rob. They've lent me their iPad to help me with recording. I was having trouble recording on my phone. I think the volume is still a little bit low, so I'll just try and talk really loudly. Hopefully you can hear me. So my story is called Little Pig's Coat. Yeah, can you see where I'm going with this? If you listen to the last story, then you might have an idea where this is heading. It's got our two friends, Little Pig and Wise Old Goat. So yeah, here we go. Little Pig was heading out to play when he passed his friend Mr. Goat on the way. As it was a chilly grey morning, Mr. Goat thought he should issue a warning. You see, Mr. Goat was wiser and older. He knew that the weather was turning colder. Said the goat, Little Pig, you must wear your coat. Said the pig, Oh, I can't do that, my dear friend Goat. I'm on a boat and this is my sail. I'm off to hunt for a humpback whale. So, Little Pig isn't wearing his coat. The stick is wearing his coat and he's pretending this is a sail. So like on a real sailing boat, the wind is blowing his coat and he is pretending that that's pushing him forward through the water. So he would be running around, but I struggled to draw his legs in a running position. As I have said before, I am not an illustrator. So the little pig sailed off to play. He wasn't in a listening mood that day. To be honest, I don't think our little pig is ever in a listening mood. Later, Pig ran past, dressed as a pirate. A wonderful costume. Goat had to admire it. Now, Mr. Goat didn't like to nag and to scold, but it really was getting rightfully cold. Little Pig, you must wear your coat. Oh, I can't do that, my dear friend Goat. I want to be a pirate, and my costume helps me be it. If I put on my coat, then no one will see it. Later, Mr. Goat sat sipping warm soup when he saw Little Pig with a hula hoop. Little Pig, you must wear your coat. Oh, I can't do that, my dear friend Goat. My coat is too squishy. I can't hula so well. When I wore my coat, well, the hoop, it just fell. Now, I know what Little Pig's talking about here because it is really hard to hula hoop when you're wearing lots of layers. I know I can get a little bit competitive in the playground when hula hooping, especially when 5-year-olds are better at hula hooping than me, which is most 5-year-olds. So I have been known to take off my coat on a very cold day just to give myself an advantage at hula hooping. So yeah, I can understand. That afternoon, Goat saw Pig run with his coat spread behind him. Ooh. Zoom! Whoosh! Wee! Wee! Whoa! Whoosh! Pig had clearly forgotten, so Goat thought he'd remind him. Now, even though it was now bitterly cold, do you think Little Pig will do as he's told? Little pig, you must wear your coat. Oh, I can't do that, my dear friend Goat. My coat is a cape to help me fly high. How else can I fly? Up, up to the sky. Whoosh, wee, wee. The day continued to grow colder and darker, but still Little Pig would not put on his parka. Now, a parka is a type of coat. I don't have a parka. I think usually a parka has the fluff around the hood here. Not sure. But yeah, we'll use our imagination. When Mr. Goat saw Pig sat on his coat on the floor, he thought he would try his advice just once more. You see, Mr. Goat, he didn't want to be a pain, but it did look like it was about to rain. Uh-oh. Little pig, you must wear your coat. Oh, I can't do that, my dear friend Goat. You see, my coat makes the perfect mat. Sit on the mud? Oh, I can't do that. Now, I probably should have drawn you a picture for this bit of the story. So Little Pig is sat on his coat and he's having a snack. So he's kind of having like a little picnic on a frosty cold day. Our little pig doesn't seem to feel the cold. What do you think's going to happen? Is Little Pig going to put on his coat? And what's going to happen with those dark rain clouds? We'll see. A few minutes later, there came a drip and a drop. It came quick, it came heavy. The rain did not stop. Within seconds, Little Pig, he was wet through. He put on his coat. But what good would that do? He'd left it too late. Oh, he was already wet. His clothes, they were icky. Ooh, it made him upset. He started to feel all shivery and achy. He realised again he'd made a mistake. His nose, it was runny and he needed to sneeze. Achoo! His body was shaking, especially his knees. Ooh. Can you shake your knees? I'm shaking mine. I know you can't see it, but they're shaking. Ooh. Why is Little Pig shaking? He's wet and he's cold. Just then Mr. Goat appeared in his mack. He said, "Come on, Pig, we'd better get back." They headed home and Goat shared his brolly. Still damp with a chill, Pig wasn't too jolly. They got to Goat's house and Goat started a fire to make Little Pig feel warmer and drier. He also found Pig some clothes to wear. They were a little bit big, but Pig didn't care. Goat served up hot chocolate and warm cherry pie, and they sat by the fire, feeling warm, feeling dry. Pig felt better and quite restored. He apologised to Mr. Goat for the advice he'd ignored. He thanked his friend and he said, "Goodbye, Mr. Goat." And just before leaving, he put on his coat. So I'm glad Little Pig felt better after a little bit of help from his friend. I know when I was younger, then adults used to say to me, "You must wear your coat. If you don't, then you might get a cold." Now, an interesting fact is that actually you can't catch a cold just from being cold. So I don't know why it's called a cold. But you can feel quite poorly if you get too cold. Now, the weather, it's been changing again. When I wrote my last story, then it was really sunny and bright, hence why I wrote about Little Pig's hat. But this last week, the weather has been really quite cold and rainy and wet. That doesn't mean that we can't go outside. We can still go out to play in the garden, go out for our walks, but it just means that we might need to remember our coat. Yeah, and if you do get caught in the rain and get a bit cold, then just make sure you head home, and maybe you could treat yourself to a hot chocolate like our little friend Little Pig. Just before I go, I would like just to say a few thank yous. Thank you to Freya and James, who watched my last story, Little Pig's Hat, and they spent a whole morning doing work on this. They made puppets, they did story maps, they retold the story, and they sent over pictures to me, and I really love to see those pictures, so thank you Freya, thank you James. Also, I have also had some pictures from other children, so that's really lovely. It's really put a smile on my face, so thank you for that. Keep them coming. Another thank you to Sophie and Charlie, as they let me borrow their parrot. You may have noticed I didn't actually have any pirate dressing up clothes here with me, so had to make the costume. So I will get that back to you, Sophie and Charlie. Thank you. I hope that you've enjoyed today's story. So yeah, just make sure you are being safe, be kind and be happy. Thanks.